When you picture Dubai, what comes to mind for you? I mean, towering skyscrapers, right? Gleaming luxury, a city that feels like it's been plucked straight from the future, maybe dropped into the desert.
Absolutely. And it's pretty natural to assume this city, home to some of the world's wealthiest people, must be built on just massive oil reserves. It's kind of the default story, isn't it?
It really is the story we all sort of unconsciously tell ourselves.
And that common assumption is precisely what we're digging into today. Because what's truly astonishing when you look at the sources is that only a mere 1% of Dubai's massive GDP actually comes from oil.
1%. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, 1%.
That completely rewrites the narrative for me. So, okay, if oil was such a minor player, what were the foundational decisions, maybe even before they found much oil? What set this tiny fishing village on such a wildly ambitious path?
That's the core question.
Today we're doing a deep dive to really unpack the unique strategies, the visionary leaders, and the complex, sometimes difficult societal dynamics that define Dubai. It's a journey from, well, almost nothing to global powerhouse.
And you're right there with us.
Yeah.
To really get it, we need to kind of strip away the modern glamour for a moment and go way back. Picture Dubai in the 1820s. Not a metropolis, obviously, just a simple fishing village.
Right.
It was part of what they called the sheikdoms territories, run by local tribal leaders, sheikhs. And back then, it actually fell under the rule of Abu Dhabi.
A village under Abu Dhabi's thumb.
Okay. But that didn't last forever, did it?
No, there's a key moment. It comes in 1833. Sheikh Maktoum bin makes this, pretty bold move. He separates Dubai from Abu Dhabi's rule and basically founds it as its own distinct place.
So that's the real starting point. The seed, you could say.
That's the seed. And then the British enter the picture. By 1853, they start using the region. It was a vital crossing point for their London-Bombay trade route.
Okay, but it wasn't exactly smooth sailing, right? Piracy was an issue. It's a big issue, yeah. So the British response was to sign what they called the truce agreement with the local rulers. And that's actually why the area eventually became known as the Trucial States.
Named after the truces. Makes sense. So the British were more about keeping their trade routes safe than actually, building up the area.
That's what the sources suggest. They provided security, kept maybe the Russians and French out, handled foreign affairs. But, and this seems crucial, they mainly saw it as just a desert crossing point, a stopover.
Right.
They initiated almost no development there themselves. It was just sand to them, essentially.
Interesting. So even with a bit of economic activity shifting from just fishing to the pearl business later on.
Yeah, there was a pearl trade, gave it a little boost.
It still remained basically a village.
Very much a village. The huge transformation we see today, that was still decades away.
Okay, so what was the real catalyst then? What or who lit the fuse for this dramatic change?
That spark really arose in 1958. That's when Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum becomes the ruler. And this guy, he had a vision that was, light years ahead of his time.
Okay.
We learned he visited Europe in 1959, and he was just profoundly impressed by the infrastructure he saw there.
Huh?
He came home with this incredibly audacious plan to make Dubai a global hub for trading, for transport, for finance.
That's some serious foresight. But how? How do you achieve that in a desert, starting with seemingly so little?
Well, he saw Dubai's biggest asset wasn't resources, but its location. Its strategic location. Look where it is on the map, in the Persian Gulf.
Right, nestled between some major players.
Exactly, sandwiched between major oil-rich nations like Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. And more broadly, it's a natural bridge, connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe. Sheikh Rashid saw that geography as his golden ticket.
He figured trade routes, not necessarily oil, would be the real wealth.
Precisely. And he didn't just see it, he acted.
Yeah.
With a truly bold gamble. Dubai had this natural creek, right? But it was only good for small boats. Sheikh Rashid decided to deepen it, widen it, make it fit for large ships. This project required massive loans.
I can only imagine the reaction. People must have thought he was crazy, taking on that much debt.
Oh, absolutely. The sources mentioned widespread ridicule. The financial risk was immense. But he had this conviction.
What fueled that conviction? Especially when, oil was eventually discovered.
Right, and that's the fascinating part. They did discover oil in 1966, but the reserves were quite limited, much, much less than their neighbors had.
Ah, okay.
So this seemingly small amount of oil, it actually reinforced Sheikh Rashid's thinking. It validated his vision to diversify away from oil dependence.
He didn't see oil as the long-term answer, did he? There's that famous quote.
Exactly. It perfectly captures his foresight. He basically said, my grandfather rode a camel, my father rode a camel, I drive a Mercedes, my son will drive a Land Rover, his son will drive a Land Rover, but his son will ride a camel.
Wow. Predicting the end of oil wealth even then? That's pragmatic, almost chillingly so.
It is. And that deep belief shaped his entire strategy. He invested, get this, every single penny of that limited oil money directly into infrastructure. Ports, the creek, roads.
I love it. Not saving some, not spending some.
All of it. The aim was complete oil independence down the line. A conscious bet on a future beyond oil.
That's extraordinary leadership. And this was all happening while the wider region was changing too, right? The British were on their way out.
Yes, exactly. The British found maintaining the Trucial States too expensive. So they withdrew in 1968. This departure cleared the path for a really crucial moment. The formation of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, in December 1971.
Uniting the seven kingdoms.
Uniting seven kingdoms, yeah. And Dubai, under Sheikh Rashid, became a key player within this new nation. This gave him an even stronger platform to push his ambitious plans forward.
Okay, so new nation formed, British gone. Sheikh Rashid keeps building. He clearly understood the maritime importance, the need for top-notch ports for all that trade he envisioned.
And he delivered. In 1972, Port Rashid opened. What's really striking is how quickly it sparked commercial activity. It's like, imagine a remote village suddenly getting a major highway built right past it.
Right, all the support businesses pop up. Gas stations, motels.
Exactly. Fueling, loading, unloading, warehousing, it all just sprang up. Port Rashid became this vital hub, driving immense growth.
And the success was so clear that he didn't stop there.
Not at all. By 1979, he builds a second, even larger port, Port Jebel Ali. And our sources confirm it's still the largest port in the Middle East today. A massive piece of infrastructure.
Incredible. But he wasn't just about concrete and steel, was he? He made another move, something more. Policy-driven.
This is where his genius for economic incentives really shines. With Port Jebel Ali ready, Sheikh Rashid makes this, well, pretty unexpected announcement at the time. The port area would become a commercial-free zone.
A commercial-free zone. Okay, break that down. What did that mean in practical terms for businesses?
It meant zero import duty, zero export duty, and zero manufacturing tax if you set up within that zone. Think about it. It basically created this irresistible economic sweet spot. It drastically cut the cost of doing business there. It made Dubai the preferred shipping route almost overnight for many.
That's incredibly powerful, using policy to attract global business on a huge scale.
It's textbook, really. And that strategic area, Jebel Ali Free Zone, now contributes something like 24% of Dubai's entire GDP.
24% from that one idea, essentially.
And it shows he understood something else too, that economic growth isn't just about infrastructure, it's about people, attracting skilled individuals from outside.
Makes sense. And his vision wasn't just limited to the sea, right? He looked up to the skies.
He did. At that time, regionally, Karachi Airport over in Pakistan was the dominant aviation hub. Great location, really benefited Pakistan International Airlines. Sheikh Rashid saw that dominance as, well, a challenge.
So how did Dubai compete?
His counter-strategy was classic Dubai. Build big. He built multiple runways. Turned Dubai into a crucial refueling stop for major long-haul airlines. Think Singapore Airlines, Air India, Malaysian Airlines flying between Asia and Europe.
But becoming a vital pit stop. But again, he wasn't content with just being a stopover.
Never. Here's another fascinating move. In 1985, Dubai launches its own airline, Emirates.
Ah, Emirates.
And to get it off the ground quickly, they strategically bought planes from Pakistan International Airlines, essentially using their competitors' assets to build their own fleet.
That's bold.
Very. And Emirates got a huge leg up. Government funding and, crucially, tax-free status. This allowed it to undercut competitors on price and rapidly expand. It just completely outperformed older airlines. And, well, you see where Emirates is today. Global domination, basically.
From trade hub to aviation powerhouse. Incredible. But for a city to attract global business and tourists, it needs more than just ports and planes, right? It needs to feel welcoming.
Absolutely. And Sheikh Rashid understood this early on. He implemented what were described as open rules and regulations for foreigners, trying to ensure their comfort. A policy his son continued.
This sort of open door approach, even with nuances we should probably touch on later.
Definitely nuances, yes.
It laid the groundwork for tourism, didn't it? What was the initial approach there?
Initially, the focus was on building luxurious hotels, trying to attract visitors with high-end accommodation. But by the 1990s, these efforts weren't really generating the huge numbers they hoped for.
Okay, so luxury wasn't quite enough.
Apparently not. So Dubai pivoted. They realized they needed more than just nice hotels. They needed glamour, spectacle.
The wow factor.
Exactly. This led to building world-famous attractions on a scale nobody had really seen before. Think the Burj Al Arab Hotel, built in 1999, world's tallest hotel at the time, on its own artificial island.
What a statement that must have been. Pure theater.
Pure theater. And this pursuit of grandeur, of the spectacular, it really continued after Sheikh Rashid passed away in 1999. His son, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, took over.
And he kept that big vision going.
He even amplified it, perhaps. He was apparently inspired by Daniel Burnham, the American architect behind modern Chicago. Burnham famously said, "Make no little plans." Sheikh Mohammed seemed to adopt that mantra. Only giant projects, not mediocre ones, make a city globally famous.
That definitely explains the skyline today. But hang on, building all this glittering metropolis in a desert, there's a massive fundamental challenge. Water. How did they possibly solve the water scarcity issue?
Yeah, that seems almost impossible, doesn't it? They basically engineered their way out. They developed highly sophisticated water management systems, primarily desalination plants that convert seawater into potable, drinkable water on a massive scale.
An engineering marvel in itself.
Absolutely. And to fund all this and attract even more wealth and business, they took that free zone concept and went even bigger.
Expanding the zero tax idea beyond just Jebel Ali.
Exactly. Dubai, and effectively the UAE, made the entire country tax-free for businesses and individuals. No income tax.
No income tax at all. How is everything funded then?
The revenue, according to the sources, comes primarily from those initial, albeit limited, oil exports, the booming tourism sector, and the massive trade facilitated by the ports and free zones.
It's an incredible incentive.
Huge. It attracted this massive influx of wealthy individuals, international companies, setting up shop. It really cemented Dubai's place as this global hub for capital and talent.
It honestly sounds like an economic miracle, a place where, the streets are paved with gold, metaphorically speaking. But this is where our deep dive needs to look at some of the perhaps unseen sides, the complexities behind that gleaming facade.
Yes, this is critical because the reality on the ground is, well, it's complicated. Let's start with demographics. Dubai has about 3.5 million residents.
Okay.
But only around 300,000 of them are actually Emirati citizens.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Over 90% are non-citizens.
Roughly, yes. This stark contrast immediately raises questions about belonging, about who gets the full benefits of this incredible wealth.
And becoming an Emirati citizen, I gather, is incredibly difficult.
Extremely difficult. The rules are very strict. Generally, you need specific Arab lineage, people settled there before 1925, or your parents must be Emirati.
What about through marriage?
For foreign women marrying Emirati men, yes, it's possible, after 7 years and having a child, or 10 years without a child. But for foreign men marrying Emirati women, no pathway to citizenship that way.
Okay, so it's tightly controlled. Are there any exceptions? For highly skilled people, maybe?
There are some provisions, yes. For scientists, doctors, artists, investors who meet very specific criteria like 10+ years experience, international awards, significant investment, no criminal record, they could be granted citizenship.
Oh, okay.
But this is important often without voting rights. So even then, full political participation isn't necessarily included. It's a carefully managed system.
Right. But for those who are citizens, that small percentage, the perks are, well, almost unbelievable, according to the material.
They really are something else. We're talking free education all the way through university, free healthcare, generous housing allowances, even a cost of living allowance, which is basically a kind of monthly income supplement.
And wasn't there something about private sector jobs too?
Yes, if an Emirati works in the private sector, the government can top up their salary, potentially up to 150,000 AED a month, which is significant. Plus, citizens can request land from the government, sometimes granted for free, subsidies on utilities, job preferences.
It leads to that phrase you sometimes hear, an Emirati citizen is practically born a millionaire.
That phrase captures the immense level of state provision and privilege, yeah. And this incredibly comprehensive safety net, it serves a purpose beyond just citizen welfare, doesn't it?
You mean politically?
Exactly. Yeah. It's widely seen as a strategy to ensure citizen happiness and, crucially, to discourage any calls for democratic reforms. Think about the 2011 Arab Spring. Protests swept across many Middle Eastern countries.
But not in Dubai.
Not in Dubai. No significant protests. This implicit social contract, immense state provision in return for political stability, seems very effective. It does raise interesting questions, though, doesn't it? About innovation, about long-term economic drive when basic needs are so thoroughly met.
A fascinating dynamic, but there's a stark flip side to all this development, isn't there? All these giant projects, the skyscrapers, the islands, but they were built by someone.
They were. By a vast army of migrant workers, mostly from places like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, the Philippines. They're the ones who physically built modern Dubai, doing the construction, the service jobs.
And their reality, according to the sources, is often very different from the glittering image.
Very different, and often very harsh. The materials document poor working conditions, low pay, and unfortunately systemic misuse by some employers. A lot of this is tied to something called the kafala system.
The kafala system. Right. Can you explain how that works? Why it's so controversial?
Sure. Under kafala, which is common in Gulf countries, a foreign worker's visa and legal right to be in the country are tied directly to their private employer, their sponsor, not the government.
So the employer holds the power over their legal status.
Essentially, yes. And the critical issue is that workers generally cannot leave their job or even leave the country without their employer's explicit permission. Trying to leave without it can be treated as a criminal offense, like absconding.
That sounds incredibly vulnerable, ripe for exploitation.
It is. It creates a massive power imbalance. And that's why you hear terms like modern slavery used in Western media to describe aspects of it, though the UAE government strongly rejects that label.
What kinds of abuses are documented?
Things like employers confiscating passports, visas, even mobile phones to control workers. Workers housed in overcrowded, sometimes unsanitary conditions, being pressured into signing contracts in languages they don't understand. There have even been reports of passports being effectively sold between employers if one no longer needs a worker.
That's deeply concerning. Did the sources mention specific groups?
Yes, a 2014 Human Rights Watch report focused particularly on female domestic workers. It detailed allegations of physical abuse, wages being withheld, extreme isolation, working incredibly long hours, like 20-hour days with only 4 hours sleep, no days off, and crucially offer no access to help, like an emergency helpline.
That's just awful. Have things improved at all? Were there reforms?
The UAE did introduce new worker protection laws in 2017, aimed at addressing some of these issues, and reports suggest some conditions have improved for some workers.
However,
but challenges clearly persist. A Guardian report from as recently as 2022 during the Dubai Expo found evidence of ongoing issues like passport seizures and violations of labor laws. It suggests that fully enforcing these protections across the board remains a significant challenge. It really underscores the human cost that can accompany such rapid, large-scale development.
So a city of immense privilege for a few, alongside profound challenges for many who build and service it. And this complexity, this contrast, it seems to extend even to the very top, to the royal family itself.
It does. The sources point out that despite the modern, open image projected to the world, the underlying rule remains authoritative and quite conservative, particularly regarding personal freedoms, and especially for women, even within the royal family.
Which leads to some quite shocking international incidents.
Yes. Several high-profile cases have brought this into sharp focus. In 2018, there was the story of Princess Latifah, one of ruler Sheikh Mohammed's daughters. She attempted to flee Dubai, apparently seeking asylum, traveling via Oman towards India.
But she was caught.
She was apprehended off the coast of Goa, reportedly by the Indian Coast Guard working with UAE forces, and forcibly returned to Dubai.
And later, didn't a video surface?
Yes, in 2021, secret video messages emerged, where she claimed she was being held hostage by her father, feared for her life, and was still seeking freedom. It caused a global outcry.
A truly harrowing story. And she wasn't the only one.
No. In 2019, another wife of Sheikh Mohammed, Princess Haya bint Hussein, fled Dubai with her 2 children. She went to London and sought asylum, which was eventually granted by the UK courts in a high-profile case.
And there was an earlier incident, too, with another daughter.
Princess Shamsa, Latifah's older sister. Back in 2000, she apparently ran away while on holiday in Cambridge, England. She disappeared, and later reports, confirmed by a UK court judgment in 2020, stated she was abducted off the street, drugged, and forcibly flown back to Dubai on her father's orders.
Abducted from the UK, these are incredibly serious incidents.
They are, and they create this stark, almost jarring paradox, don't they? You have Dubai, this gleaming futuristic city, a global hub for business and tourism.
Projecting modernity.
Projecting modernity and openness. Yet underneath, The evidence points to an authoritative, deeply conservative system where personal freedoms, particularly for women, can be severely restricted, even at the highest levels. It shows incredible progress on some fronts, but significant, troubling issues remain on others.
It really is a city of powerful contradictions.
That sums it up well.
Wow. This has been quite the journey, hasn't it? We've charted how Dubai transformed, really, from this humble fishing village, initially in Abu Dhabi's shadow, into a global metropolis. And crucially, driven not primarily by oil, but by the vision of Sheikh Rashid and then his son.
Absolutely. Those strategic investments in infrastructure, the ports, the creek dredging, the absolutely pioneering idea of the free zones, that audacious move into aviation with Emirates, and the later pivot to massive tourism and glamour projects. It all reshaped a desert landscape.
And this deep dive really highlighted Dubai's unique economic model, that tax-free environment, the huge state-funded initiatives attracting just unparalleled wealth and talent from across the globe.
Yet, as we've seen, beneath that glittering surface, there are these stark inequalities. The situation of the vast migrant workforce under the kafala system is a major point of concern. And then there are the complexities of an authoritative ruling system, starkly illustrated even by the controversies surrounding the royal family itself.
It's a city of extremes, isn't it? A true marvel of modern development in many ways, yet one built on these really sharp societal divisions and a system of tightly controlled governance.
It forces you to think, doesn't it? When we look at Dubai's meteoric rise, its incredible transformation, we have to ask, what are the true costs? What are the trade-offs involved in this kind of rapid top-down development?
Yeah, and maybe what kind of societies ultimately emerge when that kind of progress, that outward projection of success, is prioritized perhaps above all else, sometimes at the expense of individual liberties or equitable treatment for everyone who contributes.
That's the question to ponder long after our deep dive today.